Hello and welcome to the big picture. The sharing of river waters, whether it's between two or more states within the country or between countries, have always been a contentious issue and takes years to resolve them. In the case of Teesta River, which originates in Sikkim and flows through West Bengal into Bangladesh, also a settlement has not been forthcoming for decades now. It may be recalled that when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was to go to Bangladesh in 2011 and was hopeful of signing a treaty on Teesta, the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had put a spoke in the wheel, strongly opposing any deal which would harm the interests of her state. Now, with the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi slated to visit Bangladesh later this week, Mamata Banerjee has once again put a foot down on any settlement, raising concerns about the proposed treaty. In 2013, an agreement was drafted which allowed for a 50-50 allocation of the Teesta waters between the two countries during the lean season, when the real problems of allocations crop up. However, that was not acceptable. In the last 2 years, further discussions have taken place between the two countries, and Modi was hoping to finalize the agreement during the forthcoming visit, which will be his first to Bangladesh. So why has the issue now been put again on the back burner? What are the concerns of Mamata Banerjee? Are these concerns valid? What is the solution? And what will be the impact of the problem getting prolonged? We will discuss all this today with Veena Sikri, former Indian ambassador to Bangladesh, Baladas Ghoshal, Director of Society for Indian Ocean Studies, Preta Dar, an environment lawyer who has done extensive work on Teesta, and Jayanta Ghoshal, editor, Anand Bazar Patrika. Welcome to all of you. Veena ji, there was a lot of hope that it has been, all the concerns have been taken care of and will be resolved and agreement will be signed. What happened?
Well, I think, first of all, I think the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Bangladesh is a very important one. The fact that the land boundary agreement has been completed is significant, and I think that gives sufficient gravitas, sufficient weight to the visit, that this land boundary agreement issue pending since 1958, since the Nehru-Noon agreement, is now finally over, and Bangladesh and India now have a land border and a maritime border. It is true that there was expectation of the second big issue, which was a leftover from Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's visit in 2011, and that was the Teesta. And at that time, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had not agreed to the signing of the agreement and had referred it to an expert committee chaired by Kalyan Rudro. That report has not been released, but I think that
report came a couple of years back. Actually.
Yes, but it has not been released to the public.
Right.
It is there with the Chief Minister, but it has not yet been released. But I think it's important to realize the issues behind the Teesta River Agreement for two reasons. First of all, whatever happens now with the Teesta Agreement will set the pattern for all the other agreements of the remaining 50+ odd rivers between India and Bangladesh, so that one should not have to go again and again to the first stage and again start renegotiating, but set a template, set a paradigm which will form the basis. So that is what both governments are looking for. And I think that
this has been going on now for what, about 2 decades?
Yes, well, since the Ganga Waters Treaty was signed,
right,
since 1996, almost 2 decades, there has been effort on Teesta. But you know, there's a big difference between the Ganga Waters Treaty, why it could be concluded, and the Teesta. The first difference is that for the Ganga Waters Treaty, 40-year average flow figures were available. And it is on the basis of these available average flow figures, which had been measured very carefully by the Indian government throughout, that the agreement could be concluded, because you knew how much water to expect. And that has lasted very well. It has proved very good, a very fair agreement. Now, in the case of the Teesta, there are no average flow figures at all available. So there is no quantification how much water is there in the river. And this is one of the big points standing in the way. Unless two governments agree to a joint hydrological survey, at the moment, the estimates of Bangladesh of the water in the river, estimates of India are completely different. They could be talking about 2 different rivers. So they need to have a joint hydrological survey. The agreement done in 2011 did not bring in any quantifiable figures, but they agreed, I understand, on 1 or 2 aspects. One is that a certain percentage of the flow should be kept as the E-flow, the environmental flow.
About 20% or so.
Yes. And secondly, the remaining part was supposed to be divided half and half at Ghazal Doba, but the Bangladesh amount would be measured down the stream at Dalia Barrage. So these figures were there, but in the absence of a quantifiable figure. And how much is going to be the e-flow?
So that seems to be the
yes. But I
major
think there are two aspects we have to look at here, which are very important. I'd like you to very quickly mention them. First of all, that today the problem is much beyond just the river. One has to look at the whole issue of joint river management. This is an important concept agreed by the two governments in 2011, but has never been talked about, never been implemented. What does it mean? It means looking at augmentation of river flow. It means looking at conservation of water, effective use of water, preserving the biodiversity, poverty alleviation of the people living there, economic development. It is a huge, massive exercise.
And which involves both the countries, and both countries need to take this along. Okay, Professor Ghoshal, has this become more of a political issue, or you think this is still just a hydrological issue which has not been resolved all these years?
I think it's both political and emotional issue. I think it's political in the case of West Bengal and emotional in the case of Bangladesh. And I think in one of your programs, when Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister, I had suggested that I think the success of India in terms of its global role and regional role will be determined more by the way the regions view, the countries in the region view India.
Right.
And I think it is really a political issue in that sense also, that even if there are no available figures in terms of this division of waters and all that, I think it is imperative on the part of India to at least satisfy the aspirations of a smaller neighbor to be more reasonable in terms of sharing the waters. And I think the lower riparian states also has international, right under international law and conventions. In fact, we are using the same argument in terms of our, river issues with China. When China is trying to sort of divert the water of Brahmaputra,
right,
we are arguing that being a lower riparian state, we have a right to share the waters, and they must also share the data with us. So I think from that perspective, I think it's more of a political issue, and I think from Bangladesh side, they have been doing quite a lot in order to take care of the concerns of India. And it is again a responsibility on the part of a larger neighbor to really take care of the concerns of a smaller neighbor. So from that perspective, I believe that India should go out of its way to at least satisfy the aspirations of a smaller neighbor.
Rita, what are the issues involved here? What are the legal issues involved here? What is it that has, for 18 years there has been this discussions and meetings going on, but as Ambassador Sikri was pointing out, there's no real quantifiable hydrological data. Is that the problem?
Actually, I would like to comment on that, because the draft of the Teesta agreement on which the 2011 negotiations were held, it did have a period of, 13-year flow data available.
So there was flow data?
There was flow data available for
1973
to 1985, on the basis of which it was, the percentages were allocated. And the treaty also mentions that more recent data will be collected. Okay. But it was not the case that there was nothing that was available. And one of the good things about the Teesta agreement, which is actually not finding its place in any other transboundary agreement that we have, is the share of the river, which says that that share is neither to be utilized by India or by Bangladesh, and it has to be going straight to the sea in the entire stretch of the river, that is for the ecological flow. But in such a politically contested issue, these ecological aspects frequently get sidelined, and there were discussions about how these percentages...
20% has to be left aside for ecological flow.
Yes,
that was agreed upon.
Yes, that was in the draft.
In the draft, okay.
And but we don't know about any recent developments, because we have not been able to come across any figures on that. And this whole debate is characterized by a lack of informed participation of civil society, because a lot of the figures are not available in the public domain. And
why are they not available? Is it some kind of a... the governments are trying to hold on to the data. Why is the data not available?
In fact, in all the transboundary agreements that we have and the negotiations, whether it is with Pakistan or Nepal or Bangladesh or China. This has been the situation that the discussions are entirely at the political level, and the civil society is often misinformed about anything that has to have any transboundary implications. And this is reflected in the national hydro data policy as well. And so a lot of like the Kalyan Rudra committee report was also not available in the public domain, which clearly says that the benefits that the teesta agreement are supposed to give for both India and Bangladesh may be exaggerated. So the civil society is not even able to weigh in on that and even have an informed discussion on that. And about on that issue of Mamata Banerjee being a spanner in the wheels, we have to note the fact that the national water policy clearly says that all the transboundary agreements are to be agreed upon on a bilateral basis between India and Bangladesh. It mentions that the states will be consulted, but consultation does not mean a complete veto power that is given to the states. So it is a reflection of the broader politics that is happening between India and Bangladesh, and so it can't really be
and also the politics within India, actually.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that you have given some interesting information there. Jayanto, the fact of the matter is that this Teesta River, about 21 million people are dependent in Bangladesh on this river. This is what we are told. And about 8.5 million are dependent on this river on the Indian side. About 500,000 in Sikkim and about 8 million in Bangladesh. Now, what Preeta was talking about, trans-border agreement had to be between two nations. The states cannot come into the play, but we all agree that states need to be taken into account. So, when we are talking of Teesta, we are also talking of Ganga. The way Ganga was resolved, because then Chief Minister managed to show some statesmanship. You think that there is a problem there here? It has become more of a political problem?
Yeah, Girish, it's a political problem. But at the outset, I will tell you that I am optimist. I am telling you, being a journalist, I am a onlooker of this issue for more than few
decades.
Actually, decades.
Yeah.
I am telling you, Teesta agreement will be signed by our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi.
This time?
Not this time.
Not this time.
But before Sheikh Hasina's election. This is my political assessment. I know some, inside information also. And I am telling you, they will not sign the Teesta agreement this time, but discussion on Teesta, how to resolve the Teesta issue. Mamata Banerjee is not adverse to the discussion now. But so there is a change, Girish. When Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister, and when Narendra Modi is handling Mamata, there is a difference.
There are difference. But what is it that Mamata Banerjee is saying now? Why doesn't she want this agreement to go now? What are her concerns? What are her specific concerns on this? If there is a draft agreement available, what are her specific concerns? The
fact remains that water, if in the summer, in the Sukha Marsum, if there is no water, nobody will get the water. When there is water, the water goes from up to the bottom. And Bangladesh gets the water whether there is an agreement or no agreement.
Absolutely.
But the reality is that for Mamata, it's a politics, and it's a North Bengal politics of West Bengal. Assembly election is coming. Teesta, if it is an emotional issue in Bangladesh, for Mamata, it's a major electoral issue in Bengal, where North Bengal Congress is more powerful than Trinamool Congress.
Okay.
And this in our federal structure, it's not obligatory to obey the state government's dictum. But the foreign policy, you have to follow the internal dynamics. When you are forming the foreign policy on Sri Lanka, can you ignore Tamil Nadu politics? So I think it is easy to say that the constitution and the legal, we don't have any obligation. But in our country, what happened to the New Deal issue? When Manmohan Singh used to say that it's a good for our country, the left parties, when they oppose, it's a domestic constituency, domestic clientele. So this politics of public opinion is always a
I agree with you, Jayanto. In fact, even Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was quoted famously in those days when Mamta had put her foot down, saying that provincial sentiments cannot be ignored. So obviously provincial sentiments has to be taken into account. Veena Sikri, the question now is that is to 2011 when this draft agreement was signed, and now it is 2015. In these 4 years, what progress has been made? She was talking about having there was inflow data from 72 to 85, right, Preeta? 72 to
73 to 85.
73, about 13 years data. Has there been no data collected in these last 3-4 years?
Let me clarify that a little bit. I think one of the main reasons why even the draft agreement in 2011, it was called an interim agreement. Why? Because there was no data. Because there was no agreement on the quantity of flows in the lean season. And that is why they said, okay, we will have this in-principle agreement now. And after 15 years of actually measuring the data jointly, then we will call it the final agreement. So it was only going to be an interim agreement in any case, precisely because of lack of data availability. So that has been a problem. Secondly, I think there's issues come up like the 7-month lean season flow. Very long, because in the Ganga Waters Treaty, it's only a 5-month lean season flow. And this 7 months means more than half the year is a lean season when you have to guarantee supplies. Now, there's a very unique factor of the teesta, that in the teesta, during the lean season, only 10% of the annual flow of the teesta is available in the lean season. So there's a very sharp fall in the water flows in the teesta in the lean season, and the glaciers are declining. So that reduces the flow in the lean season even further. So this is why both countries are very sensitive on this matter, because if for 7 months you have to guarantee a flow during a very dry period in India, when water is not available for irrigation in Sikkim or in North Bengal, North or West Bengal, where it is very crucial, politically sensitive area. So that is why the fear of making a commitment unless the actual quantities are jointly verified. So it's a bit of chicken and egg now. But the answer that you have asked the question, the answer I would say is the Joint Rivers Commission must meet. They must meet often. They must meet regularly.
When did it meet
Well,
last?
they have met very infrequently. And it's chaired by the water resources ministers of each side. And they need to actually meet and set up these technical groups, which actually, even the present teesta draft agreement came out of a technical group which was set up. Somewhere in 2005, 2006, which met and actually came up with some, possibilities.
So the fact that this River Water Commission doesn't meet as frequently as it should have to resolve this problem only indicates that politics is guiding this whole
I think, as Jayanto said, I'd agree with Jayanto that in this visit, they will discuss joint rivers management. That's going to be an important topic. And maybe when they discuss it, they will come up with some directives, some directions to the Joint River Commission, give them a mandate that they will agree and discuss these various aspects. And I would like to also make a point about this whole aspect of consulting the state government. I think Prime Minister Modi, one of his very strong points is this aspect of cooperative federalism and making the Chief Minister as part of Team India. And this is a very important aspect, because unless you get the Chief Minister on board...
This issue will test that actually.
Yes, actually, the Ganga Waters Treaty only happened because then Chief Minister Jyoti Basu, he was at the forefront of the negotiations. So only then it worked, and it's a successful functioning agreement. So that's why I feel that there is scope. This visit will lay the ground. It perhaps will lay out certain parameters for future discussion of the Joint Rivers Commission. There will be a lot of groundwork done, and perhaps next time when Sheikh Hasina comes to India, it can be finalized.
Professor Ghoshal, Jayanto was talking about politics. His optimism that if not now, before the next elections in Bangladesh, it will be signed, because this is what we had heard even in 2011, that India is trying to help Sheikh Hasina by striking this deal before the elections, and then but do these things happen that way? Can these things happen that way?
In fact, his optimism may have derived from the fact that Mamata is slowly becoming more and more confident about the outcome of the elections
of her elections in 2015.
Yes. And in fact, 2016. And in fact, even if the teesta agreement, if she agrees to that, she has also made a clause that it will not be before the elections of 2016. So I think
the implementation will take place only after the
has to be. And so she would like to, almost make it sure that she wins the elections and all that. And in fact, as we have all agreed on this one point, it's basically a political issue for Mamata, because in North Bengal, as Jayanta had mentioned,
but it's
that
also
the Congress
now,
is powerful.
Isn't it now also a challenge to the Prime Minister's own theory of cooperative federalism to get along, to take these people along, to take Mamata along?
I think Modi has a better management criteria for dealing with the state-center relations than what Manmohan Singh did. And somehow, Modi understands Mamata better and knows how to rein in.
I can tell you a few interesting anecdotes.
I'll come to you, Jay.
I think she must have been given some inducements in some form or the other. And otherwise, she would not have agreed.
She has not agreed.
I mean, agreed in the sense,
to go.
Even agreed to
go to Bangladesh.
Even agreed to go itself is a big...
And the land boundary agreement, of course, she has come down to accepting. Yes, Jayanto, you
no, actually, one visit you are forgetting. That Mamata's visit to Dhaka a few months back.
Yes. Right.
And that is also after Narendra Modi becomes the Prime Minister.
Right.
Or can Chief Minister go to a sovereign country without the consent of Delhi, without the consent of Prime Minister? It cannot be bilateral, I mean West Bengal, Calcutta, Dhaka diplomacy. So that time also she went, she met Sheikh Hasina, she assured Sheikh Hasina.
She had a very good excuse to go at that time.
Yeah, the Bhasha Divas
yes.
ceremony, that actually Bangladesh government also gave that opportunity.
Yes.
And it happens, Girish, in each and every country, and always we create some opportunity to come to our head of the states from other countries also.
In fact, Jayanto, that was at that time when she went to Bangladesh, there was this great hope in Bangladesh media and also others here also. We were thinking that, this is the meeting, this meeting was going to be very crucial in striking the teesta agreement also.
No, she assured Sheikh Hasina for the first time that I am not against teesta agreement.
Absolutely.
Few days back I met Chief Minister and she told me that this is a wrong perception that I am against the treaty. And I think that is the change of Mamata. When Manmohan Singh was there...
No, but what is she against? Even today, we are not clear because she has not made her stand very clear to anybody, except making general statements about I will not be...
She is saying
people's interest is...
in Sikkim there are 8 hydraulic these dams they have made, and there is a scarcity of water in North Bengal, and the popular perception is that the teesta agreement, if takes place, the North Bengal people will suffer. So I cannot go against that perception, and I talked to Sikkim Chief Minister, and CM Sikkim also expressed the same sense of anxiety. But Prime Minister talked to CM Sikkim after that, and CM Sikkim is saying that whatever dams we have made, that is actually we have not stored the water and we have made the dam. It's not like that.
Those are run of the water.
So this dispute you have to resolve first. I think there is a roadmap. Okay. I think there is a calendar. But Prime Minister didn't visit. Why Prime Minister visited Bhutan first and not Bangladesh? Because he also, Bangladesh was impatient that time. Why Modi is not coming? Why Modi is not coming? But there should be a roadmap, and the Modi also wants to highlight this agreement, land agreement first.
No, exactly.
One by one, step by step.
Now, as Veena Sikri rightly pointed out, he has something to show, he has something to offer when he goes this time. He has the land boundary agreement in his pocket. Yes, I'll come to you, Preeta.
I think there is another angle also in Mamata's politics. If she agrees to Teesta Water Treaty right now, what does she have with her to extract concessions from the center? So I think she wants to keep people guessing what will be her position. Okay. And in the process, at least she will try to ensure that some more benefits to the West Bengal politics.
Yes, Preeta.
I want to emphasize that I fully support the cooperative federalism of this government, and I am in no way should the opinion of the state government be sidelined in achieving something for the national interest. I'm just like to emphasize that it needs to take into account a broader range of stakeholders as well, and not just between a political game between the center and the state as it is often played out, which does not take into consideration a lot of other factors.
What are these other factors?
So this river has to be seen as a unit, as a complete unit, and not just water at one particular point, which is what
when
the
you're
treaty
saying
says.
it has to be seen as a unit, it has to be seen as a unit both
In
from
terms of-
Sikkim to Bangladesh.
From Sikkim to Bangladesh has a continuous living unit, which
Right.
has implications on biodiversity, on fishermen, on local agriculture, not just on
So it is not just
cubics of water.
the West Bengal farmers and
Precisely.
other people and Bangladesh.
It's not such a simplified black and white debate, and that is entirely missing from this debate about the impact on the biodiversity, on the river continuity, whereas we are still talking about these factors in terms of the Ganga. The Teesta agreement is not highlighting these issues at all, which is extremely crucial, and if ignored, can be a really big impediment to a successful functioning, especially in the times of climate variability and the variability of flows that can happen, which is what Ms. Sikri was pointing out. And also, we need to take into account that these agreements have a lot of flexibility mechanisms built into them. It calls for reviews every 2 years
Absolutely.
or so. So we should be looking at cooperative mechanisms rather than just polarizing the debate in such
Okay, I
simplified
think
terms.
that's very interesting. Very quickly, Veena Sikri, if this whole thing gets delayed further, what problems do you envisage?
No, I think that right now there will be no problem because number one, Mamata Banerjee is on board. That is very important. She has assured Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina herself, in addition to her talks with our Prime Minister, that trust me, I will do it. So I think there is a timetable ahead. But I think that in reaching that timetable, reaching final closure on Teesta, there are a lot of aspects along the way that need to be agreed upon so that the states, West Bengal and Sikkim, also see the agreement as benefiting them,
right.
and that the people living along the way, that they must see, for example, if there is such a shortage of water, then both sides have to agree that don't grow water-intensive crops. Change your cropping pattern, have crops that are less water-intensive during those 7 months, which is the lean season. So there's a lot of discussion to be done by both sides to agree upon technical and scientific discussions, and I'm sure that it will come in the next year or two.
I think Bangladesh also wants not only just this agreement, but while joint development of rivers, I think Bangladesh also wants to be a part of that, project between India and Nepal, Shoptakoshi project, where, the barrage,
right.
they will preserve the water, and in lean season, that water could be sort of flown into, so that, this scarcity of water could be met. So I think the joint development of river, I think there is some proposal also on that, the Basin Development Authority.
So hopefully during this visit, that will be very quickly, Jayanto. I'm told that Bangladesh Prime Minister told the West Bengal Chief Minister when she was there that, I'm told Mamata Banerjee was complaining that she's not getting Hilsha in Bengal. And she said, you give us water, we'll give you Hilsha. You think that the Hilsha diplomacy will work?
The Hilsha diplomacy will work, and Bangladesh government already, they have cleared the cabinet decision also took place there. But one thing I want to tell you very quickly, that I think that joint river commission, that is also very serious agenda this time. What Veena Sikri, Madam Sikri is pointing out. Through that commission also you can include Teesta. Because there are perhaps 59 rivers, if I am not mistaken. 59 rivers. 54 or 59. So you can include Teesta, you can discuss Teesta on the forum of the River Commission also.
Okay. I think on that note we'll end. We'll wait and watch what will happen. Some of these developments I'm sure will take place. But to what extent this problem will come nearer a solution, we'll have to wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.